Welcome to the Learn to RV podcast, where road life meets real life.
Welcome to the Learn to RV podcast. Tonight, we are going to be tackling the subject of launching our teens into the real world, which is a very scary season for some people. For others, I don't know. Maybe you're ready to get them out of there. I'm not sure. I'm not there yet. So I'm going to learn from these two. And I'm going to talk to a couple of other parents who have launched kids out into the world and has some great programs to help you prepare your kids for launching out to the world as well. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But first, I'm here with Tasha and Jennifer, and we're together again, which is great. And so I'm going to start with Jennifer because I think she's got the most kids out in the real world. Four of them. Yep. And 3 at home, and hope it's getting to be fewer and fewer at home every year, right?
Slowly but surely. But it's never easy. I think that's the thing about it that you don't realize is you worry more about your kids as they're adults than you ever did when they're toddlers. I always tell people like later in life that it's so much easier to have toddlers, and it doesn't seem that way.
You know where they are.
You do know where they are. You know what they're doing. And so I have our first kid actually launched in the world as we launched in 2013. And so she had a bag packed in the closet, didn't tell us, and moved out without a plan and couch surfed for a couple years and job hopped. And it was scary, and, so from that point forward, we were prepared, so we did summer camping and all sorts of things with the kids to help them launch into the real world. And then owning a business, some of them work for us still today. But, it doesn't you still worry about them. It's still a different dynamic.
Yeah.
So and I have a boomerang kid. My oldest did come home for a couple years.
Yeah.
And she stayed with us for 2.5 years when that happened. And then she relaunched. And that was a much better relaunch than the first time around. And she's a very successful groomer now. So, and she's got her head on her shoulders. And not that she didn't back then, she was resilient.
Yeah.
But it's not how you want your kids to go into the world. Right. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yes.
So, I think it is. I think it's a lot easier to have toddlers than it is to have adult children.
Yes, for real.
So I want to rewind just a little bit because I think one topic that is often discussed too or worried about as parents is, a lot of us full-timers were homeschooling, road schooling, unschooling. Not everybody's doing an official curriculum, so they're not necessarily getting a degree or they have to take a GED. Like, what have you guys done? You both have kids that are out of high school. What have you done, to kind of cross that hurdle? Has any of your kids wanted to do any college, or like what has that looked like for you, Tasha?
Well, for me, Rosewood actually graduated from their high school before we launched. So they had their diploma in hand when we left Arkansas. And they have done classes through a community college in Florida online. And, that's been easy. It's, doing college online. David is finishing up high school online through some different curriculums that we're using. And then Florida has some different, because we domicile in Florida, so they have some different guidelines on how you prove that your child is educating correctly, being educated correctly. And so, he just took a standardized test. We set that all up and he took it at home and we had to proctor the whole thing and send all of those results in. And then that'll get held by Florida State to show that he did pass that. He has some courses under his belt from when he was at public school that were advanced. But he so far hasn't taken any college courses since we've been on the road. But he is actually talking about taking a gap year before he looks into college. He's kind of not sure what he wants to do.
Yeah.
He's my kid that he really likes to cook, and I think that he could be an incredible chef.
Yeah.
But he's afraid of doing that as a career and then losing his love for it.
That makes sense. Though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like our dynamic's very different. We work camped with our kids over the years. And as far as education goes, I mean, like the state of Texas is fairly simple. You just have to write a transcript for them. And, I mean, nobody asks for your diploma once you actually
That's
graduate.
true. Yes.
And I think that so many people got hung up on that. We actually have a plan for our high school seniors that we ask them to do a resume. We ask them to write a certain level of paper. And we have some kind of strict regulations that even in our unschooly world, I want them to be able to write like an article. So if they did get a real world job, they would have those skills that they needed. But as far as like filling out a job application, making a resume, those are things that they have to be able to do before I consider them graduated. And so when Micah decided he wanted to work at Amazon, I was fortunate that year I knew the guy that ran the program. And so he applied before he actually turned 18 and he was pushed through as my partner going into Amazon, and they've never done it again that way that I'm aware of. He actually was only 3 days after being 18 was his first day on the job. So he was the youngest Camper Force employee that was ever hired that we know of. But it's hard work. And so he got inundated with being a picker, which is essentially the person that picks your orders. And so think of the rooms as 3 football field sizes of shelves. And so, and there's 3 floors of those on each side. So there's 6 and then 1 big main floor. So 7 full floors. And you could be anywhere in that field all night long. And so he and I worked together in those situations, but that taught him hard work. It taught him endurance. And we stress very strongly when we're doing work camping or anything to finish our season.
Yep.
And so teaching our kids to do those things, I think makes them better all around.
Yep.
But it's not without challenges too.
Right.
So,
Right.
but he wanted to take a gap year.
Yep.
He actually wanted, so in 2020, he was, turning that old and he wanted to go backpack Europe and he did not because of COVID.
Yeah.
So, it changed
It
things
changed
for a
the
lot of
world for
people.
a lot of people, for sure. And there's all sorts of, there's no right way or wrong way, to do college or, finish high school. And every state's different. And so I will say that you need to check with whatever state you domicile or reside in, and find out what their rules are and make sure that you're following that. But it's not as hard as you think usually. It's usually pretty easy to find that information. I know there's a website, I can't remember it off the top of my head, but we'll put it in the show notes, that you can go to and see a lot of those rules and stuff as well from state to state. But it's something to start talking about with your kids when they're 14, 15 years old too, and find out what they
taking
want.
college classes is actually pretty easy as high school students that are homeschooled. They can come out with for almost no money. They can come out with an associate's degree and then go to the college of their choice as a junior at 18 a lot of times. And I have friends that have had their kids do that. So, it is a viable option for a lot of road schooling families.
Yeah, absolutely. And then once kids are done with high school, you guys, both of you have had kids stay beyond 18, obviously, which kind of how I'm leaning too. 10 years ago, I might have said, oh no, kids are 18, they're moving out. No, I'm kind of starting to lean towards, nope, once they graduate, it's time to stay home for a few more years, do online college if that's what they want to do because it's cheaper than, and I don't want them to rack up, high loans and expenses and everything else. There's a lot to it, but let's talk a little bit about how do you prepare your teen for that? Like, at what point did you start having conversations with Justin, let's say, about going out into the real world and how he can prepare himself for it?
So with Justin, he's my second born. He was a little different. So Ariana was pregnant and we stayed in Texas that summer. And he met his wife that year. And so keeping him around for that extra year was actually kind of difficult. And he made some tough decisions and moved out pretty quickly. And he paid for it. He found a cheap place to live and, it wasn't in the greatest part of town. But now he's enrolled in school and he's dual enrolled in that and he works for us. But at the same time, he did spend time working for the school district and working his part-time jobs and doing more than one job. And so I think Micah and Hezekiah were the best equipped because they watched their brother go through that
Yeah.
and said, that's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
And so we would work camp with them a couple times before then, and then they could put money in the bank.
Yeah.
And they had a plan. They wanted X number of dollars in the bank in order to move out. And so there was that ideology that, and they didn't want to move out alone. So,
Mhm.
I mean, we were in Vegas for a whole season where Micah thought he wanted to move out. And, jobs are plentiful in
Yeah.
Vegas,
Oh, yeah.
but they're also very seasonal.
Yes.
And so what he found was he could get a job for 3 months, but then he was looking for another job because it was a different season in Vegas. And so he realized very quickly that that wasn't sustainable.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, I mean, like, I think there's some of that. And I mean, Tasha, you've had your kiddo go off on an adventure.
Yes. Rosewood went to Jamaica with Traveling with a Purpose. And that was the scariest 2 weeks of my life. Didn't have to be, because Tanya and the TAP team took amazing care of my kid and did an amazing job preparing the team, getting them ready to go. So everybody, including the parents, knew what to expect, and there was like culture training and everything. I mean, it really did an incredible job of preparing each person for being able to go. But that was Rosewood's first foray into um, traveling, not just really, I mean, they had gone to like some Bible camps, some church camps without us, but that was like, I'm getting on a plane, I'm leaving the country,
Without my mom and
parents are
dad.
nowhere near me. I don't really know anybody that I'm going with except that I've met them on Zoom, you know? um, and so that was a whole new adventure for them. Dropping them off at the airport and watching them walk away with their little carry-on bag was
Yeah.
was a little.
It was a mom moment.
I was having panic attacks at the airport. But, but yeah, it was incredible. And to see them post pictures and, they called me every, every day from Jamaica, um, and gave me updates. And it was really fantastic to watch them grow during that time. And I know that there are a lot of camps out there. I know that you are talking to
Kirsten.
Yes.
And she's going to talk about her camps. And in fact, let's go ahead and take a break and we're going to go over and see what Kirsten has to say. All right. So, everybody, I'm here with Kirsten today, and we're going to be talking a little bit about her goodies and her camps that she has going on. But first, Kirsten, why don't you just take a minute and introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what Teen Connect Adventure is and, kind of how it all started.
Okay. Well, let me just give a tiny bit of background on me. I have 5 kids, and in 2017 and 2018, we full-time RV'd around the US and Canada in a converted school bus. And that really kicked off our family traveling adventures. And at the end of 2018, we moved back to Texas, and we were living a normal life, which was really boring after full-time travel. And then the pandemic hit, and it got even more boring because we couldn't go anywhere or do anything. And so we decided, well, if we're going to have to sit in a house somewhere, let's move to Mexico. So at the end of 2020, in December of 2020, we packed our family up and we flew to Mexico with 7 suitcases for 7 people. 7 people? Yeah. And we came here with the idea that it would just be a temporary adventure, kind of check it out. We thought maybe we would end up in Argentina later on, but we really just fell in love with the place that we're living, and we decided to stay. When arriving in Mexico, my kids were really excited about it at first because it was something new and different, but it didn't take very long for them to be like, we want friends. We miss our friends in Texas. And I was like, well, you weren't seeing your friends in Texas anyway. We weren't allowed to go anywhere. Um, but it made me realize that in order for everyone in the family to be happy, that they needed more interaction and engagement with peers. And I was seeing my older boys, who were my teenagers at the time, who are now kind of grown-ups. I was seeing them at the time spending more and more time in their rooms, like dark caves with the glowing screens of their video games, and that was the way they could hang out with their friends. Um, but I really felt like it was important for them to have real life interactions with other teenagers. And so I put a call out in the community and said, "Hey, who else has teenagers? Can we get these kids together?" And that was the beginning of what we call Teen Connect. And so now, 5 years later, I have local programming that I do for teenagers here in San Miguel. We have theater classes and art classes, and we do dances and scavenger hunts and camping trips and all sorts of, like, whatever the teenagers we want to do, we do that. And then in the summertime, I run adventure trips, adventure camps for teenagers. And those are for kids from the US or here or anywhere to come and do 2-week long adventure travel camps. They're cell phone free and they're very immersive into nature and culture and having as much fun as possible with their friends. So that's sort of in a nutshell what I'm doing here and how it got started.
That is awesome. I love that as an opportunity for teens because I think, especially for RVing families, okay, I want to kind of talk about that a little bit, especially for RVing families. Like we're so together all the time. The kids aren't going to school. They aren't, getting away from the parents. And so it's family 24/7. And you're nearing that stage in life where they're going to be adventuring out on their own, whether that's to college or to a job or, whatever the case may be. But we call it launching them, into the world, and they have absolutely no experience going off on their own and doing anything. And that's what I love about your camps is, like, this is a great opportunity for teens to kind of go out there without their parents, and experience life and be with other teens and to immerse themselves in the nature and stuff. For parents that might be listening to this episode who might be nervous about letting their kids, say, go into another country, spread their wings without them, what would you say to them? Like, why is this important to give teens an experience like this? What would you tell them?
I think it's important for the same reason that we who have sort of like this wanderlust and the desire to travel, and we believe that it's a good, healthy, well-rounded part of our kids' education. I think it's for the same reason. It builds on that same foundation because travel and for older kids, for teenagers and young adults, independent travel is part of what, like, traveling with your family is awesome. It's great. It's a great foundation. It builds these great memories. But when kids get to a certain age, they have to learn to do things on their own. They have to develop independence. And if they're always with their parents, then mom is always there to be like, "Oh, did you get your water bottle? Did you get your backpack?" Like, to be like, you forgot your jacket again." And when teens are given the chance to do some independent travel, obviously with some certain boundaries or trusted adults, around
Right.
to help, it's different. They don't depend on a camp counselor or the camp director to be their mommy.
Yeah.
They have to show up as a young adult. They're treated like a young adult. They're treated like a responsible young person who's going to remember their stuff. And if they forget their jacket somewhere, that's like, oof, that is a bummer that you don't have a jacket anymore.
Yep.
Like, I guess we're gonna have to see where you can purchase yourself one.
Right.
And there's a different. They're at an age developmentally they're at an age where they need to have independent experiences in order to build the
Yeah.
confidence to move into adulthood. And so for those of us who have chosen to homeschool or chosen to be with our kids 24/7, we have to be proactive about making sure that they have those experiences, because it's a natural part of human evolution that they need to step away from mom and dad and learn to spread their wings. And so that can
Yeah.
be done in a variety of different ways. But I think it's important for us to find and allow for those opportunities.
Now, what about teenagers that might be looking at like a gap year or something between high school and college? Do you offer anything for, those 18, 19-year-olds, or are they out of
Yeah,
luck?
so we do offer gap year camps. What I'm actually working on developing, and I've started with the local kids here, but I'd like to open it up to other kids. Is you mentioned a little while ago the the transition of what happens when young adults are wanting to fly, go fly, and maybe they're not taking the traditional college route, or maybe not immediately. Um, I have a program here for young adults, and right now it's for young adults that sort of have aged out of our teen programming but want to do leadership stuff. And so they're the ones that are running the social media and editing the videos and are the camp counselors. And they help plan and run local events here for teenagers. Like we have a leadership team. And my
Awesome.
goal is to open that up to other young adults who could come for 3 to 6 months and stay here and live here with their other young adult peers, and do meaningful volunteer work to be able to develop their leadership skills. Usually we have an intake form where they can talk about like what kinds of skills they'd like to develop. Are they people? Are they do they want to develop leadership skills working with younger teens in hosting and leading and planning events? Or are
Yep.
they someone who would rather be on the back end of like doing video editing and helping create content? Because we have a variety of different things that goes into running all the programming. We do a lot of programming, and it's stuff I can't all do by myself. It takes a whole team of people. And so my goal in the next couple of years is for us to find housing here that's sort of like dormitory style housing that young adults can come and do a volunteer program where they can come and work and learn and leave with either join the staff full time, or leave with their resume full of experience and more confidence than they had before, as
Oh,
sort of
that's
a
awesome.
part of their launching into adulthood.
That's awesome. Can you share a story of a teen that maybe came on one of your adventure camps and had some sort of transformation or breakthrough moment?
Gosh. Um there's so many. I have one young lady who's been coming to my camps for the last few years. And when she first started, she was one of the youngest kids. She was one of the youngest kids at camp. And the first week, like, I was like, "Oh my gosh, what is she even doing here?" She was so incredibly shy. So shy, and, like, I would see her by herself, like, eating her lunch in the corner, like, I thought almost, like, near tears. The point where I was, like, had a counselor kind of, like, shadowing her, making sure she was okay because she was just, like, so intensely shy and socially anxious. Um, and by the end of the first 2 weeks, she had kind of come out of her shell, and, it was you could tell she was making connections and friendships. She has ended up coming back to camp every summer, and the transformation is amazing. Like, she is, a different not a different kid, but she is just the most confident, beautiful version of herself now. She's really grown into herself. And her mom attributes that to her participation because she was a world schooler, meaning that they had been traveling full time and homeschooling. And so she had been fairly isolated in their family.
Yep.
And so her mom and dad and her brother were her main social life. And so stepping into her teenage years, she had very, very little experience interacting with other kids her own age. And so this just gave her a really, really safe, loving, nurturing environment to kind of grow and blossom. And now, when she walks into a room, she owns it.
That's awesome.
This is her third summer that she participated. And to me, every time I see her, I smile because she's she's got, she's got her friends. She started at 12, almost 13. She was in a program that we had, or in a camp that we had, that was for 12 and up at that time. And so now she's 14 and a half, and she's just a young leader. She's an entrepreneur. She It's really beautiful. And there's not countless, but there's a bunch of other kids I could mention, but for me, that one really stands out and
That one
makes my
stands
heart
out.
happy because I've
That's
just
a
seen
great
her really
story.
blossom.
That is awesome. I love it. What should families consider when they're trying to decide if Teen Connect Adventures is right for them?
I think that the families that are sort of aligned with our mission and vision will naturally be attracted to it. But basically, what we're trying to provide for kids is intensely connective experiences. We're
Mhm.
trying to create spaces where they can come and be themselves and connect authentically with other teenagers.
Yeah. Yep. So if you want to tell all of our listeners, how can they learn more about Teen Connect Adventures? How can they find you? You got a website, social media. How can they go find out the events and everything else?
Yeah, all of the adventures are right now on teenconnectadventures.com. And then we also have a Teen Connect Adventures Instagram and a Teen Connect Adventures Facebook and a Teen Connect Adventures TikTok. And all of the social medias are all run by our amazing leadership team of young adults that put together the social media for us. But yeah, everything's on the website at teenconnectadventures.com.
Good. And any last things that you would like to tell the parents listening, about, sending their kids to camp or getting their kids ready for adulthood or anything else? Any last bit of advice or tips or encouragement or anything else?
I really believe, especially for those who are traveling and RVing and spending a lot of time with their children, that it's one of the most beautiful gifts. Like, thank you for giving that gift to your children. Um, and as your kids get older and are craving more peer-to-peer interaction, more independence, um, more community, that it's our responsibility as parents to seek that out and provide that for them, whether that's with my adventures or whether it's with a volunteer internship program or whether it's um, going to meetups where you can really get them immersed with their peers. I think it's really, really part of their healthy development, and to
Mhm.
recognize that in your kids and to be proactive about making sure that they get that in whatever way makes sense for your family.
Great. Well, thank you for talking to me today, Kirsten. I really enjoyed our conversation. And again, if you guys want to check out what everything she has going on, her website will be in our show notes. And the full interview, there will only be clips of this in the episode you're listening to right now, but the full interview will be on our Patreon channel for all of our free subscribers as well, so everybody can listen to the full unedited interview too. So, all right, thanks again, Kirsten.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Well, that was great talking with Kirsten and learning all about her camps and opportunities. And so you've got that, and her stuff will be in the show notes. And we've got Traveling with a Purpose, which still
Yes.
exists to this day, and that will be in the show notes. And I just want to encourage you, like, if those opportunities are too big for you, like, look at other small things. There's summer camps,
Mm-hmm.
other programs, space camp. I mean, that's pretty cool too. Different
I want to go to
things.
space camp.
Right.
Send me. Can I launch?
And
Well, and our kids are actually looking at a possibility of going away next summer.
yeah.
So in
Mhm.
2026, they're looking at job opportunities on different websites for work camping that include housing.
Yeah.
The concerns that I personally have with that is they're going possibly without a car.
Ooh,
They do. I mean,
Yes.
Gus has a license, but they may not have a car to go with.
Yeah.
And so we're asking them to kind of look at all those things. And I'm asking them to apply at more than one place
Yes.
because I want them to be able to pick and choose. But I think that's a great way to do a gap year. There's a
Yeah.
lot of kids and adults actually that'll take a year and go work camp for a summer somewhere just to kind of find themselves again. We worked with a person that was a nurse in Yellowstone
Yeah.
that, just that's what they wanted to do that summer. But we
Right.
also worked with a girl that was 35 and a theater buff, and she was fantastic. But she literally would go from work camping experience to work camping experience.
Yeah.
And that's how she makes her living.
Yeah. People
So,
do it. Yeah.
yeah.
And I like that idea of sending them off to a work camping gig for a summer. But you just got to work out those logistics, which is the challenge.
Yeah.
Especially if you've got a kid that doesn't have a ton of money. Insurance isn't
Mhm.
cheap, gas. But there are places where there's a lot in one place too. You
Yeah,
know, I
right.
mean, even Yellowstone. Yes, Yellowstone is a long ways from the grocery stores, but there are groceries on site, and I'm almost positive, don't hold me to this, but I'm almost positive they have a cafeteria for the staff as well.
Right.
I've read
Mhm.
about that.
Yeah. So we were in West Yellowstone that year, and a lot of the girls that were up there didn't go down the hill all the time. They would just buy stuff at the local grocery store when they were cooking in their in their dorms.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a big deal because it was just them.
Yeah.
So one of the guys actually had a grill off the back of the thing, and anybody could use it. And
Right.
so I think a lot of those work camping experiences too, they have things for the kids to be able to use, or adults.
Yes.
And so, they went out to do karaoke every Monday night and
Right.
stuff. And so there's a lot of community adventure that's outside being at home
Right.
that gives them that opportunity to feel like they're living on their own, but they could bank a lot of that money. So,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, and in today's world, they might find the next roommate.
Yeah.
They might find that they love doing this and they want to do it for a couple years.
Yeah.
Right.
I actually went to Disney last night over at Celebration to go see about an opportunity over there because it said anybody 19 and under could go do it.
Oh,
So I thought, well, I'm going to
you
go
got
check
a
it
couple
out.
kids.
Yeah. And so I went over, and if you're local to here in Celebration, you can join this
The
program.
caveat.
But our kids would have qualified if they'd been a little younger.
Yeah.
But they do have some rules. But it's a real awesome opportunity. It's a 36-month program.
Yeah.
They're paid over $20 an hour.
Wow.
They work 25 to 30 hours a week, and then they get to take classes through Disney for free, but it's all backstage production.
Okay.
And so the whole first year is a little bit of everything.
Which
And
is
then they
nice.
pick their specialty at year 2. And so, but there's no dorms.
Right.
And that was a big one for
That's
me.
a big.
Yeah.
So, I couldn't have left Gus here, and I don't know that I want to stay in Florida in the summer. So,
Gets a little hot.
Yeah,
Sorry
yeah.
to say.
Yeah.
Well, what are some other Jennifer? You know everybody. I mean, right? Okay.
Yes.
So she's been on the road for a little bit, few
Couple
years, and you've seen people come and go. You've had friends launch teenagers. What are some other different ways that you have seen some of your friends launch their kids off into the real world?
well, I mean, obviously there's college. A lot of my friends have done college with their kids. But they usually go in, like I said earlier, as a junior.
We have a mutual friend now that they're staying put in Oklahoma while their child
This
goes
is
to
true.
college.
And that's a neat program in and of itself.
Yeah.
So that program, Lisa and Bill have their kid has she wasn't quite yet graduated. She was so close, but it's only for high school seniors. Another program.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
what they did was they stayed in Oklahoma for the next 2 years so that they can go through cosmetology school. And it's a free program
Nice.
for that school.
Yeah.
And so, but that means that Bill and Lisa have to make a commitment to stay there or help their kid find a place to live.
stay.
Yeah. And so they've opted to stay there for now.
Yeah.
And we'll see how it goes this year.
Yeah.
They're in their first winter.
But that works for them.
Right.
And this is to
Mhm.
say that there's a million ways to do this and you have to find what works for you.
Well, sure. And I mean, we have friends that years ago, so when Justin was little, he used to hang out with these kids and they met at 13 each. I mean, it was kind of cool. But, their son Josh went off to the military. Their son Matt went off to the military. And so, they just had to stay put while the kids were going through the recruiter.
Yeah.
So they stayed in one local area for a certain length of time. And so it can be done.
Yeah.
It's just you have to kind of think outside the box a little bit
Yeah.
Mhm.
when you're looking for jobs for your kids. Work camping with your kids is another option.
Yeah.
To help them build that nest egg. Not everybody's going to have a company like us to employ their kids.
Right.
We were fortunate enough to have that as one of the options for us.
Yeah.
So,
I just spoke with Amanda Pelser,
Yeah.
and they just settled down. And I'm going to say settled down. It's not the way that you think of settled down. They have parked their camper on some property that they bought,
Yeah.
and they're homesteading there, and eventually they want to build a home there, but they're there with their kids, and they have a 19-year-old, and he is going out and he's working in the community and he's doing some farming jobs. And she was talking about how he's looking at what comes up next for him. He's at that age where he gets to start kind of looking for that. So they're settling down in that area, and that's giving their son an opportunity to see what comes next.
and so many kids are like, when they're 13 and 14, they're like, oh, I'm going to get an RV and travel like my mom and dad did. But by the time they get to 18, that has changed.
Yes.
And it's okay that changes for them. But, you have to realize that your kids' dreams at 13 and 14 may not be what they are at 18 and 19 and 20.
I mean,
So-
I went my whole life thinking I was going to be a kindergarten teacher.
Really?
And then I graduated high school and I was like, I'm done. There was no more school for me. And so you just never know where your children are going to end up. They will change their mind. And that's where a gap year, I think, is always nice because it gives them an opportunity to explore. Where camping is nice. They get their hands on different things. But another way that some people have launched their kids is they've actually gone back to a sticks and bricks for a little bit. And launch their kids from there. And so I'm going to go over and talk to Alisha a little bit, and she's going to get to tell her story about how she launched her kids into the real world. So here I am. I'm joined with Alisha, and Alisha has gone through several teen launchings, and we're going to take a few minutes and chat with her and find out a little bit about their story. So why don't you go ahead and start by introducing yourself and maybe tell our audience how many kids you have, their age ranges, things like that, and maybe a fun fact.
All right. So fun fact will be challenging. So my name's Alisha. We first went on the road in 2014, in the fall of 2014. And initially it was just, we're from Maine originally. So we had just had one of the worst winters ever. And it was like, gosh, why are we here?
Right.
It's so cold, and I don't ever want to do that again. So we decided that we were going to just get rid of everything and go full time. So at the time we had 8 children. When we left, my oldest was 17, and then we had 14-year-old, a 13-year-old, 11, 9, 7, 5, and 3.
Yeah.
Yep. So lots of kids.
Okay, let's count. How many kids is that?
We had 8 children.
So
Yep.
all in one RV.
All in one RV. We had, I affectionately refer to it as a tin can because it was a 1995.
Wow.
And I just outfitted the back with triple bunks.
Oh, cool.
Yep. And so I built those, and that's where everybody slept, and we made it work.
Yeah.
It was an adventure. And we were on the road for a little over 4 years, and as my older children started to get, older, and they wanted to, do older children things and then get jobs and go to college and whatnot. So, while we were traveling, we had to keep just kind of accommodating them. It was constantly changing. What we were doing was constantly changing because we want to make sure that, everybody's happy. And I kind of forgot the question you asked me. Fun fact.
Fun fact about you, yeah.
Oh gosh, I don't know what would be a fun fact. Get back to that one.
Okay, no, come on. I know a fun fact about you.
Okay,
You like cruises.
I do. We love traveling. We love doing cruises.
And you plan people's vacations on the side.
And I do.
Yeah.
I plan cruises and vacations. So I do work as a travel advisor. So I guess that is a very fun fact. And if I could just sit on the beach all day and watch the waves and feel the wind, I would be very, very happy. Doing that. And watching cruise ships come and go. So, yeah.
Very
yeah.
enjoyable.
Fun fact.
Okay, so you started with 8 kids on the road.
Yes.
But you're now down to 3.
We are down to 3 with us.
So
So what a shock. Yeah.
You've
very
launched
different.
5
We have launched
into the
5
world.
Into the world. Yep.
And so you've probably done it a few different ways.
We have.
So how did your oldest one launch into the world? Let's start there.
So my oldest was a little bit different because I feel like she would have just stayed home with me for a long time. But she did. She
Yeah.
stayed home with me for a long time. She was very quiet and calm and sweet. And we had always told our children, until you know what you want to do, until you have an idea of what you want to do for college, we didn't want them just going and spending a bunch of money and maybe wasting money if they're taking classes that they're not going to use. So,
Right.
we told them 18 is not a magic age for us. It's not like you're 18, go get out. We've never been those kinds of people that it's like you're 18, get out and kick them out. So we've always told them, you guys can stay as long as you want. If you need more assistance, that's fine. If you leave and need to come back, that's fine too. And we've had one that left and came back and left and came back and then left again. So, and that's okay. It's what we always wanted to be was like a safe place where if they, they can go and they can come back if they need to until they're ready. We never wanted to just be like, you've hit this magical mile marker and now go away and do your own thing. So that was kind of really important to us. So my oldest just never knew what she wanted to do. She was just like, I don't know what I want to do. So we told them, until you really have an idea, let's hold off on spending money on expensive education until you have a better grasp of what you want to do. And my oldest son had ideas. So he was definitely one that was like, I want to do this. And so it was really once he got to be to that age. And then my next son was only 13 months younger. So we had 3 that were bam, bam, bam. And so it was really once my oldest son got to be older where we really were like, let's try to put down roots. So I feel like we did it backwards a little bit. Like most people are like, oh, my kids are old enough to be in college now. So now we're going to go do this traveling and now we're going to get rid of stuff. And we did it backwards. We're like, oh, my kids want to go to college. So now we're going to settle down and buy a house and give them the structure and the home base that they need so that they can go do that and not have to worry about spending money or getting housing, or
They can live at home while they go to school. And
yeah. So that was my big thing, was I just wanted to provide that stability for them. And so when it came time, my oldest son had just turned 18. So then my oldest daughter was like 21. Yeah. And we started looking at, where are we going to settle down? So at that point, nobody really wanted to go back to Maine because there's not as many opportunities in Maine. I love Maine. And it's always going to be home, but it is harder for young people because there's just not as much there. So we had residency in Texas because when we first set up and went on the road, we set up our residency in Texas. So we focused on Texas because we already were residents, and that way the children could go to community college. They had like the residency so they could go to college or in-state college for free or for cheap for in-state rates. So that's kind of how that happened. We had considered maybe doing Florida because we spent so much time in Florida, but we would have had to wait a whole year, before they could be up and running. So our criteria was just looking for a school or an area that would accommodate everybody. That was not easy. And because they all want to do completely different things. And we had 3 that were looking at college classes and then 1 that was going to be coming into college soon. So, yeah, that's kind of what we did. We ended up settling with San Antonio, and bought a house there. And there's, I think, 5 different campuses for like community college. Yeah, there was a lot of options. So they were all in different classes and then they were going wherever, but we just gave them the home base. And the thought was, we'll just keep this house as a home base, and then we can still travel with the younger children, and the older ones would stay there and and take care of it. And it worked out pretty good until COVID hit and all of our plans went out the window. Yes. So it's like, well, that wasn't what we want. I mean, but you can never predict what's going to happen. And so we just, we made we thought we were doing the best decisions that we could at the time. But yeah, the neat thing about, teens and older teens, I think really the big thing is just to be open, because everything's going to change. And even as it changes, it's going to change again. There's always like so many moving parts with when they get to be older. And like I said, we had one that left and came back and left and came back and then left again. And if they need to come back, they can always come back again.
Yeah.
So I think you just really have to be really flexible when it gets to that stage of life, and and have really good open lines of communication so what they want. And and just so they know that they can come to you. So yeah,
So you were in Texas and you had 4 kids in college.
we had 3 in college
3
in
in college.
Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
Yep.
about the other 2?
So my youngest son, so I had my oldest daughter, the 2 oldest boys, and then my next son up, he was not even remotely interested, which is fine. So, and the funny story is my second son, okay, so my oldest daughter went to college and the 2 boys went to college. My second son realized that the college thing that he wanted to do wasn't right for him. So this is again how things just change. So he wanted to do animation. And just insanely talented, very smart, and just very ambitious. And he did so much, like he taught himself so many things. So he was going to the community college and studying animation. It was a 4-year program. And he was looking at the end, like the very end of the 4 years, they
Yeah.
have everybody do a project. Like, show
Mhm.
me what you've learned, and so the
Right.
projects. And he was really not impressed with the projects that he was seeing coming out. He's like, it's not very good quality. He's like,
Right.
I don't want to waste 4 years and then get to the
And
end.
then
And that's
have that be it. Yeah.
right. So he decided to take a different path, and then he came up to me and he said, I want to drop out of college and this is what I want to do. But he had done a lot of research and found like correspondence courses that he could do for some other stuff. And with animation, it's not quite the same thing as if you want to be a doctor.
Right.
They're not going to be like, where did you go to college? They're going to say, let me
Let's
see your
see your
reel.
work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
show me your reel. Show me what you can do.
Yep.
And they don't care where you
As
are.
long as you're good.
Exactly. As
Yeah.
long as you have the skills. And he already had so many skills. He told me that he did a project and he just like didn't even do a good job to him. He said he just kind of like was phoning it in. And then the teacher like held it up as like, everybody do this. Look how great this is. And he was like, seriously, that was really shoddy work. So anyways, he had realized that he'd found this other program that he could do. And he showed me how much money it costs. And he said, I want to stop doing college because I don't think it's worth it for what I'm doing. He said, and I want to just get a job, more jobs. He already had a job. He wanted more jobs and save my money so that I can pay for this other, because his plan was make all the money ahead of time so that when he started the college classes, not the college classes, but this correspondence course, he wouldn't have to work and he could just devote all of the time. So that's what he did, and when he came out, I mean, he had a plan. He wasn't just like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. He had an actual plan. He had an alternative idea. And that's what he did. He ended up dropping out and worked 3 jobs and earned a bunch of money and saved it all. And then by the time he was able to start the correspondence courses, he already knew so much he could skip a whole class,
Oh, awesome.
which saved him like $2,500.
Yeah.
So he ended up not even needing as much money as he had put aside. And before he even graduated, he got a full-time job.
That's great.
So really that worked out for him. That, wouldn't have been something that everybody could have done, but that worked out really good for him. And it's just because that's what he wanted to do. And he did the research and he, figured out what he was doing. So it worked out really good for him. So, yeah. And then my oldest daughter was doing, she was going for like pastry and baking, and then she changed her mind about what she wanted to do. And my oldest son ended up joining the army.
Yeah.
So he went into the army, but then, again, with 2020, we ended up leaving Texas and moving back home to Maine again. So yeah, it's even when we had settled down with the house, there were still so many moving parts.
Yeah.
And plans change
Right.
sometimes, so you just have to be able to kind of to do that. So
I think kids 4 and 5.
yeah, no desire to do college with either one of them. So we were really kind of pushing like trade schools for them. Because they were like, we don't really want her to go to college.
Do you want to explain? Because not everybody understands what trade school is. Do you want to explain a little bit about what trade school is?
Yeah, I mean, trade schools are great. My son, my youngest son now, he actually works for the railroad.
Oh, cool.
So, and he just bought his first home. He's 22.
Oh, wow.
So he owns his own home. He also owns land. So, yeah, he's
That's
doing
great.
yeah, really well for himself at 22. We're really, really proud of him. But he works for the railroad. But we really were like, trade schools are so good because what they do is they teach you how to do a skill, how to do a specific thing. So like, plumbers, electricians, heat techs, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you can make quite a bit of money doing those. I mean, you can start working for a company, and then if you want to go out on your own, have your own business. But I mean, these people make six figures a
Yeah.
year. They really do very, very well for themselves. And then you don't have, 4, 6, 8 years of college debt,
Right.
because it's usually, like a 1 or 2 year program, or maybe you have an internship that you're getting paid during your internship. So we had really, before our youngest son got the job at the railroad, we were kind of like, hey, you should look into being an electrician, or maybe you want to be a heat tech, or maybe you want to do, he don't want to be a plumber because he don't want to. My husband's
Right.
like, I don't blame him.
Yeah.
If he doesn't want to, I'm not going to push him. I was like, you could be an electrician, and or the heat techs, because that's something big, in me. So the HVACer. And so, but he ended up finding a good job with the railroad. So he seems to like it, but it is such a good idea. And and now, the younger ones, the 3 girls that are here, it's like, what do you want to do? But it's a hard question, I think,
It
for
is.
kids, because I feel like I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. So and you put this, we just want to put pressure on them. It's like, what are you interested in? But it's hard. It's a hard thing, I think.
It's a hard decision to
It
make.
is, yeah. And and again, with things changing, and maybe what you're interested in, when I was 16, I wanted to be a marine biologist, and then I realized I would never want to do that. So, as you get older, and your plans change, and your
Well, and
likes and dislikes
sometimes
change.
what you're interested in, you don't want to do for a career either.
Yeah.
You want to keep that a hobby, or you want to do it for fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so there's that dynamic as well. So you homeschooled all your kids, obviously.
Yes. Yeah.
And so what was that like, because, and I know every state's different, so you can really only speak about what Texas was like for you. But, some states you have to go and get a GED if you don't have a high school degree, or other states the parents can write the transcript, or other states you file through some, third party school and get a degree through them. Like, how did it work for you and getting your kids enrolled into college? Like, what was that process like?
Yeah. So it was actually pretty easy in Texas, because I just gave them. I just had to have the transcripts, and they took those to the
And you just created the
I just
transcripts?
created the transcripts,
Yeah.
myself, and they took it to the college people, and it was not a problem at all. My son didn't have a problem with military. He actually had one recruiter that gave him a hard time about it, and really pushed back, because he was, I don't know what, I think that the recruiter just wasn't well versed. Like, he
That could
didn't
be.
realize that was okay.
Mhm.
Because my son was like, I literally have college credits.
Right.
I don't know why you're causing this to be a big problem. And he also got a 99 on his ASVAB, which is like amazing. So I think that recruiter just had no idea
That could be.
about homeschooling, or a homeschool document, and he was just uneducated about it. But when we pushed back, he I think went to his superiors and was like, oh, I guess it's okay. So, but it was fine. And sometimes you're gonna hit those people that maybe they don't understand because they haven't seen it. I feel like it's so much more prevalent though now. Even like since they did it, which was in 2019, 2018, when I was getting them enrolled and everything. I feel like even now it's more people have
More well known.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, how to do it. And so it's not a big deal. But I would say, I think parents sometimes get really kind of caught up and stressed out about college. And I would say not to be so stressed out, because there's so many different paths that you can take, and college isn't the only thing that there is.
Yeah.
So I know it's a big talking point,
Yeah.
but it's not. I don't think it's as. No, there's definitely no one size fits all.
Right.
Because
Every kid's different.
Every family's different, and even in one family, all the kids are different too.
Yes.
And they all have different things that they want to do. So it's just it's kind of a fluid thing where it just changes. And yeah.
So if you could go back and tell your younger self one piece of advice, before entering the year of launching your kids out to the real world, what would you tell yourself?
I don't think I would have bought the house in Texas. Really, honestly, I don't think I would have, because they could have done correspondence courses. We could have got like an annual site,
Mhm.
And just stayed put that way and still have a residency
Right.
and been okay. So Yeah, I would not have bought the house in San Antonio. And we would have just probably
Continued full time.
maybe, I don't know if we would have continued full timing, but definitely would have been out in the country. I'm not a city person, so I really didn't like being in the city. My husband and I are like, we really should have liked Texas and we didn't, but I think it's because of where our house was.
Yeah.
And if we were outside, we probably would have been, maybe we wouldn't have liked it still. I don't know. But I think that they could have done a lot of things. But I say that, but then again, we got the house because they wanted more space too. So
Yeah.
maybe we still would have got the house. I don't know.
Hard to say.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say going back, but maybe a smaller house out in the country. We bought a really big house.
Yeah.
Going from a small camper to a big house was quite the shock. So, but yeah, I think, I think everything worked out the way it was supposed to because the older children are all very happy. My oldest daughter's married now. She's living in New Mexico. My oldest son is married. He's in the Army. He's living in Texas.
Got grandbabies?
2 grandbabies.
Oh,
Yep.
yay.
So, and now it's just, with the girls and asking them what they want to do and just being open to what they and they don't know what they want to do. So
Yeah.
it's like,
So your biggest piece of advice for someone, what would your biggest piece of advice be?
I guess not to worry about it so
Yeah.
much.
Trust
And-
for things.
Yeah. And just kind of be willing to maybe have things go the way that don't make plans and be so set on those plans because it's going to change. Like even when we bought the house and everybody was all set in college, it only took, COVID to ruin that. And or
Right.
my son, realized that he wasn't going to get the education he needed. And so that changed for him. And my daughter's going for baking and now all of a sudden we're not doing any classes. So what good is that?
Yeah.
If you're not there to learn it. And, then my son joined the military. So it just, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
And then we sold the house in Texas because we're like, why are we here anymore? We don't need to be.
Right.
So, we moved back to Maine. So yeah, I guess don't be super attached to your plans
Mhm.
because, they say, we make plans and God laughs because,
Right.
there's just we're really not in control of anything. So we just have to really be able to kind of
To go with the
it
flow.
and change your plans as needed.
Great.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, thank you for joining us today. I
You're welcome.
appreciated it.
Yeah.
You're a wealth of information. You've lived it and more than once. So, everyone's story is different.
That's the thing. Yeah.
And
every kid's different.
And
so.
it's great to share all perspectives.
Mhm.
So that way people like me, my oldest is 15, but we're getting closer and closer to those years. It's neat to hear all the different ideas. So it helps us to plan better and, figure out what's going to work well for our children. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I think the correspondence courses are such a good idea now.
yeah.
And even if you can just do like general stuff, like,
Yeah.
or business, I would tell my dog, do business or something, just something that
Basic, just to get you
basic stuff.
started.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And I know a lot of kids, like there's a lot of states where you can do both at the same time. You can do high school classes, and college
Yes.
classes
That's
together.
what we're looking at with our oldest.
Yeah. So that would have been great, but that wasn't something that Maine offered.
Yeah.
I don't know about Texas, but it is a really great option too, to kind of get that out of the way and save some money.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks again.
You're
Appreciate it.
welcome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that was great talking to Alisha and hearing her side of the story and how she's launched her kids out into the real world. And so I don't know, we just kind of want to wrap things up a little bit and maybe give you guys, some sane advice that you can do with your kids tomorrow at no matter what age. I know that we've already started having conversations with our 15-year-old, about how
Well, and that's
they
half
want
the
to-
battle.
It is.
Having those conversations and starting them early is
Mhm.
a critical aspect to launching on the road. And even having the conversation of it may not look like at 18 what you think it's going to look like right now.
Right.
And so that's
Life
important.
changes and it doesn't
Yeah.
always turn out the way
Well,
you
and
think.
COVID changed a lot of things. The cost of living has gone
Yeah.
up exponentially.
Yes.
And so having a friend that they can launch with is super important, and having those conversations of what do you need in the bank in order
Yeah.
to move out and successfully, how many months do you want to have?
Yeah.
If you were to lose your job tomorrow, how many months do you need to have saved for? Those are just a few of the things. The other
Yeah.
thing is don't kill your kids.
Yeah. Yeah, don't kill your kids.
You know,
Some other creative ideas too is, you guys maybe don't want to slow down, but your kid does. Well, what about family? I mean, there's aunts, uncles, grandparents. I moved in with my grandmother for a couple of years after I was done with high school too. It was mostly to help take care of her, but it also kind of gave me that opportunity to be on my own a little bit
Yep.
and get some experience and stuff. So there's lots of ways to do it. We want to encourage you, like if you need help, you need support, you're just struggling as a mom and a parent and you just need to let it out, go over to our road schooling resources page. It's a group, it's a private group, it's a safe place, and drop a post up there. And if you need to post anonymously because you're not comfortable, that's okay too.
Yep.
And put your questions out there so people can come alongside you. There's a lot of people in this community that have successfully launched kids, that have unsuccessfully launched kids, and everything in between. And there is somebody who can help you and give you ideas and come alongside you. So anything else from you two, or?
I mean, I think the road is long and you just have to be flexible with all that you do. And I think supporting your kids, I think that the biggest thing I'd say is it has to be a family decision.
Yeah.
I think that some of our kids have made decisions hastily, mine specifically.
What kid doesn't? I mean,
Right. But I mean, those hasty decisions have long-term effects on your entire family.
Yes.
And so I think having sit-down meetings on a regular basis, as soon as these conversations start, is an important aspect to it. So, whether your kid is going to school online and planning for college at, an earlier age than normal.
Yeah.
Shelley Dostie actually has a book that she wrote about that we'll drop in the show notes.
Yeah.
On how to help your kids do that if that's their goal. But there's lots of different ways, and there's no one right or wrong way to launch your kids.
No.
And it's okay to stop if you need to for a little while and kind of regroup.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people go on and off the road, for a season, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of figuring out what works for your family
and your children.
Yep.
And child A may be different than child B or C. And you might have 3 different ways you do it. And that's okay too. So
and you'll get 4.
Yeah, I get 4. I got a while.
Tasha, once she's done with 2, is going to be like, watch you guys now.
I have a feeling I'm going to have some boomerang moments, though.
Yeah, you might.
Yeah.
Well,
It's okay.
I would
We
say
love
that
our kids.
boomerang kids are okay.
Yeah.
Each time they boomerang back, they learn something new.
Yes.
And so Ariana actually came home twice.
Wow.
And so it wasn't just once. One was for 6 weeks, and then one was for 2.5 years. And so, but she's now successful, and she now knows what she wants in life.
Yeah.
And so it's okay to have those moments.
Yes.
And I think that's super important to say, because especially if you have a tight-knit family, taking the time to really understand what your kid needs. And not all kids are ready when they think they are.
Yes.
And being okay with that is part of the battle.
Yep.
Or lack of battle.
For sure. Well, be sure to like, subscribe, follow us, join our podcast campfire group, join the road schooling resources group, and all of those links will be in our show notes. And we'll see you again next week.
Love what you're hearing? Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. And while you're at it, leave us a review.